Have you ever wondered why people claim that the first 100K is the hardest? And that once you cross that line, your finances and life in general change forever. Your net worth starts growing faster, and before you know it, you will not have any money problems that you can't easily solve by yourself. So in this video, we're going to break down what exactly happens after you cross that 100K milestone, and why your net worth can explode from there. If it's your first time on my channel, I work as a finance manager at a top tech company with an MBA in finance and a CPA designation. In the video, we'll first start by covering what the net worth is, how to calculate it correctly, why the first 100K is so hard to achieve, how to get to your first 100K, and then most importantly, why your net worth will explode after 100K. So let's start with the basics to make sure that we're on the same page. What exactly is net worth? Think of net worth as one of your most important financial scores. Net worth is simply the difference between your assets, or what you own, and your liabilities, or what you owe. To put it in even simpler terms, it's basically everything that you have in your possession minus everything that you have to give back or return. Your assets can include things like your cash in the bank, your investments, stocks, properties, or even personal items like luxury watches or cars. On the other hand, liabilities are all your debts, things like student loans, mortgages, car loans, and even credit card debt. And when you subtract all your liabilities from your assets, you're then left with your net worth. It's a simple calculation, but it's one of the most important numbers when it comes to personal finance. It tells you exactly where you stand financially and how close or far you might be from your financial goals. So now that we know what the net worth is, let me show you through a quick example how you can calculate your own to check whether or not you're at 100K yet. And you don't need any expensive apps or software. I'll just use Excel, but you can easily do the same thing on a piece of paper. First, you can start by listing all your assets on one side, like your house, car, cash, and stocks. Then you list all your liabilities like your mortgage, car loan, credit card debt, and student loans. Then you sum up all your assets and all your liabilities. And the formula for net worth is going to be total assets minus liabilities. So let's use some numbers as an example. Let's assume that you have a house that's worth $500,000. But you also have a mortgage for $250,000 of it. So your total assets as of now is $500,000 and your total liabilities is $250,000, making your net worth $250,000. Let's also assume you have a car that's worth $50,000, but you have a car loan for $40,000. You also have $20,000 in cash sitting in your bank account, but you also have $5,000 credit card debt balance. And then lastly, you have $20,000 in stocks, but you also have student loans for $40,000. So that way your total assets add up to $590,000, your total liabilities add up to $335,000, and your net worth is $255,000. So now that we know how to calculate your net worth correctly, let's talk about getting to that first 100K, because let's be honest, it's not very easy. In fact, many people find that it's the hardest financial milestone to reach. So why is that? The first reason is low starting income. When you just start your career or open your new business, your income in the beginning is not very high. You're usually starting from the bottom, trying to learn the job and get your experience. You're probably just making enough to get by, but definitely not enough to live in luxury or wealth. At this stage, there's just not enough income coming your way to build any serious wealth. You're simply not making enough to save anything. And the second reason now is high expenses. Life doesn't really care whether or not your income is low. Life is always going to be expensive, especially when you're just starting out on your own. Your rent, your utilities, your groceries, and transportation can eat up the majority of your income. And then there is also the temptation to inflate your lifestyle. Whenever you get that first small raise in your salary, it's tempting to upgrade your apartment, buy more expensive clothes, and even lease a newer car. But these expenses can make it feel like no matter how much money you earn, there's just never enough left to save. As a result, the third reason for not being able to save your first 100K is living paycheck to paycheck. Many people in early or even later stages of their careers are living paycheck to paycheck. At this stage, you don't have an emergency fund, so any money that you make is just gone by the end of the month, and you're just waiting for the next paycheck. Your income is only enough to pay for your expenses, Nothing more, nothing less. Living paycheck to paycheck makes it hard to impossible to build up any substantial savings. When you're constantly worrying about covering the bills, saving for the future will seem like a distant dream. So how can you get to that first 100K? The actual journey to 100K isn't about making that one giant leap. It's more about making small, consistent, smart choices with your money over time. So let's break down a couple of realistic strategies that can help you get there. First, take advantage of your income, whatever it may be. Early on, focusing on ways to increase your income can make a substantial difference over time. You could do so by getting a certificate or a degree that can help you increase your income potential. From my personal example, after I got my bachelor's degree in accounting from a small college, I decided to go and pursue a master's degree from an Ivy League school. And that decision helped me increase my salary by almost 4 times. So make sure to also always look for ways to increase your income, whether it's negotiating your raise with your boss, switching to a higher paying job, or even starting a side business. You cannot realistically get to a net worth of over $100,000 if your income is simply too low. My second advice for you is to automate your savings. This is a game changer to make sure that you prevent lifestyle inflation and overspending from affecting you. Every time that you receive a paycheck, make sure that a portion of it is automatically transferred to a savings or an investment account. If you don't see that money sitting in your checking account, you'll be less likely to spend it on useless things. Make a habit to not touch your savings or investment accounts and just let them grow. You can start by automatically transferring only 5 to 10% of your income at first, but then you can increase that percentage as you get more comfortable with time. My third advice is to live below your means. This doesn't mean that you have to deprive yourself of every pleasure, but it does mean being intentional about where your money goes. Make sure to look closely at all your expenses and cut out everything that's not adding value to your or your family's lives. Small adjustments here and there can have a big impact over time. And finally, don't get discouraged by setbacks. Life happens, whether it's unexpected car repairs, medical bills, or job changes. But the key is to stay consistent, try your best, and get back on track as soon as possible. The journey to your first 100K is rarely gonna be smooth, and that's completely fine. The most important part is building strong financial habits that will keep you moving forward. So finally, why does net worth seem to grow so much faster after you get your first 100K? And let's be realistic, it's not some magical point or a number where everything suddenly changes, but there are still some key reasons behind why your net worth can explode after your first 100K. The first reason is the shift in your mindset. Before reaching this milestone, saving and investing your money can feel like an uphill battle that's not going anywhere. But once you finally see that first 100K in your accounts, it becomes proof that your strategy is working and that you can achieve even more if you stay consistent going forward. This realization can be highly motivating. It can shift your focus from just trying to get by to actively building and protecting your wealth. The second reason is that having 100K or more can open up more financial opportunities. With larger amounts saved, you may qualify for better financial products like higher interest rate accounts or even private investment options. You may even have enough money saved for a down payment on a real estate property or to start your own successful business. And as we know, real estate and entrepreneurship are two major ways how a majority of millionaires in the US build their wealth. The third reason is the power of compound growth. When your investment starts generating returns, those returns can also have their own returns. Let's assume that in year 1 you start with a balance of $100,000 and you get a 10% return on your money. That means that you'll profit $10,000 on your investment and your ending balance at the end of the year is going to be $110,000. Your ending balance in year 1 will also become your beginning balance of year 2, so let's link the cells. So in year 2, we're starting with $110,000, and let's assume the same 10% return. So in year 2, we're making a profit of $11,000 compared to only $10,000 last year. And that's because the return from year 1, the extra $10,000 that we got, is now earning 10% returns by itself. So we can see that the year 2 balance ended at $121,000. So now let's do the same thing for year 3. So we're gonna link the cell for ending balance of year 2 and we'll assume the same 10% interest rate. So now in year 3, we're making $12,100 and the balance at the end of year 3 is going to be $133,100. So compared to year 1, we're making extra $2,100 just because the returns are making returns of their own. Over a period of 40 years, your initial investment of $100,000 can turn into $4.5 million. I know that 10% annual return can appear too optimistic, but even if we take 6% annual return, your initial investment of $100,000 can turn into over $1 million in 40 years. And finally, the last reason is that it's all about momentum. Once you've reached that first 100K, your money is now working harder for you, and you've likely also developed financial discipline to continue growing the money. The small incremental gains that felt small now start to compound more noticeably. And it's not simply because of the math, it's more about the fact that your whole behavior with money has changed. You've become more financially savvy, you're making better choices with your money, and you learned how to spot good opportunities. Building wealth is a long journey and it requires patience and discipline, especially in the early stages. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme, but if you stay focused, keep your spending in check and invest consistently, getting to your first 100K can be a start to some really exciting financial growth. Let me know in the comments if you found this video helpful and if you were able to calculate your own net worth today. Thank you for watching this video and I'll see you in the next one.